Well, we're back again. In this video, we're going to be exploring which cities would be targeted if Russia were to launch a nuclear attack. First off, Russia has 4 major nuclear-capable ballistic missile systems. That's the RS-24 YARS, the R-22 RMU, the RS-20V, and the R-36 M2. But what are these major cities? Well, we've done some research into what might happen if there was a nuclear war between America and Russia. We found that there are at least 5 cities in particular that seem like likely targets, including Chicago, Seattle, Los Angeles, New York City, and Boston. Now, in a nuclear attack, it's important to remember that the United States does not have a single target. Instead, it has more than 10,000 targets that are vulnerable to an attack. But we do know that if Russia were to launch a nuclear attack, they would need at least 3 or 4 warheads per target. That means if they wanted to destroy all 5 cities at once, which they almost certainly would, they would need at least 15 warheads in total. And however, this number could vary depending on how many targets they have in mind for destruction, as well as how many warheads each missile carries. And they typically carry between 1 and 3. The cities that Russia would most likely nuke are based, in terms of the information we have, first off on their population centers. Then in terms of the damage of the nuclear strike and deaths, and these are just estimates, also the deaths including the surrounding areas. So for example, Chicago, about 1.25 trillion in damage. It's saying up to 7 million in deaths. That's at least Chicago plus surrounding areas. Seattle, 2 trillion in damage, at least 1 million in deaths in surrounding areas as well. Los Angeles, 1 trillion in damage, and then again, 5 million in deaths in all the surrounding areas. New York City, 2 trillion in damage and 8 million in deaths. Boston, 1.5 trillion in damage, potentially up to 2 million in deaths. That's with total destruction. Chicago is the 3rd largest city in terms of in the United States with a population of 2.7 million people. It has a GDP of 400 billion annually. It has one of the largest concentrations of financial institutions in the world, including both the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago and many large banks, including Bank of America and J.P. Morgan Chase. It also has one of the busiest airports in the world, the O'Hare International Airport. It's used by over 40 million passengers per year. Seattle has a population of over 3 million people, and obviously more with the surrounding areas. It's home to companies like Amazon and Microsoft. It's known as an important tech hub for both local startups and larger corporations alike. Amazon alone employs over 100,000 people in its Seattle headquarters alone, another 40,000 acres across its global offices. The city's port is also incredibly important for trade between Asia-Pacific countries such as Japan and China with North America, as well as other parts of Europe. And then in terms of Los Angeles, obviously an important port city. Los Angeles could be targeted by Russian nukes. And if they use one of their newest weapons, that's the Ivan, will likely result in a number of casualties, like just about enough, maybe not entirely enough to eliminate the entire city. But given the high cost of a nuclear strike, Russia would be incentivized to target cities with large economic or political significance. And Los Angeles fits in both of those categories and provides a perfect model for understanding how a nuclear attack could unfold. New York City, its factor is a status as a major financial and economic center. It's one of the largest cities in the world. New York City is home to numerous global corporations, financial institutions, making it a symbolic target for any attacker seeking to disrupt the global economy. In addition to its economic significance, New York City is also home to numerous political and military institutions, including the United Nations headquarters and the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. These institutions could be seen as potential targets for a nuclear attack, especially if the attacker wanted to send a message to the U.S. government or disrupt its operation. And finally, also with New York City, it's an attractive target from a strategic standpoint. A nuclear attack on the city of this size could obviously cause significant damage, loss of life, both in the immediate aftermath and through long-term health effects. Finally, Boston could be a target by Russia because it has financial centers, universities, and medical research centers. The city of Boston is located on a peninsula, but would still be vulnerable to nuclear radiation spreading from areas from the south of the city. In addition, it also stands near 2 major interstate highways that connect New York City and Washington, D.C., making it a strong target for any nuclear attack that was aiming at disrupting our country's economy and government. So what are your thoughts? What cities should have been included in the list that we have for you today? You probably have a different idea. Please leave your comments down below, and as usual, share our reports for TNS Texas News Studio. I'm Mark Meyers. We'll be talking to you soon at another report. See you then.